My name is Jean Cole, and I'm teaching 4th grade at Frontier Elementary. This is my 32nd year of teaching. Totally enjoy it. It's a passion of mine.
So what are some of the beginning of the year management procedures and learning routines that you establish in your classroom?
When we start the year, we spend a lot of time building team. So we do a lot of team building activities. Grouping games is what we call them as well. When the kids come in the first day, we have a time where we work in small groups, and each group makes some kind of a circle map or tree map of what they want their classroom to sound like, look like, feel like. And besides adjectives, they also put in there examples. Here's what we'd like to hear. Here's how we'd like to handle this problem, and so forth. And then we take that as a group and we make a group expectations chart, and then that gets posted, and then everybody has to sign it and everybody commits to it. So that's the very first thing we do first day of school. And then after that, we play grouping games. So I ask the kids to get into different groups, maybe by color or number or something, where everybody should be able to get into a group, and typically what happens is it's just chaos. Which is okay, because as a teacher, you know, I get to kind of see how strong are they at working together and so forth. And then as we run into the problems, we stop and problem solve. How can we make sure everybody gets in a group? What's our responsibility? And then we also learn that we have a class motto. Our motto is, if one fails, we all fail. And I just keep reiterating that with the kids. So we'll practice grouping games in different ways for like 2 or 3 weeks. We also practice concentration with a concentration game to build that stamina to ignore distracting things. And then we also do what we call signing a contract. So the kids go through motions with their body, and the saying is, I agree to control my body, I agree to control my voice, I agree to be present in my learning, I agree to concentrate, and I agree to cooperate. And then we go into, what do each of those things mean? What will it look like? What will it sound like? What's my responsibility, and so forth. So we spend a lot of time working on those things.
Perfect. One of the other things that we saw was you walking students through the process of annotating a learning target. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I do that because it gives me a chance to assess my kids' knowledge on where they're at with that learning target. If we're doing fact and opinion, do they really understand the difference, and so forth. I also have the chance to teach them some academic vocabulary. So that learning target, you know, we annotate it to begin with, but it may change as we go throughout the lesson. The kids may come back as they discover something. It may be added to the learning target at the end. Anything else we need to know, you know, anything we can make clearer. So
great. And then can you touch upon the physical space of your classroom and how it's set up and why it's set up that way and how it contributes to the culture of your class?
Well, since our motto is, if one fails, we all fail, and also we say it's all about us. You know, we have a lot of students. I have 33 kids this year. One year I started off with 38, and I'm like, how do you fit 38 desks in a room? Because it can be constraining. And if I want my kids to open their minds and think outside the box, then I really feel that I have to change that physical space to support it and to support that teamwork. So we don't have desks. We have some tables. We have yoga balls. We have, I have the tops of rolly chairs that they can use to sit on the floor. Kids can lie on the floor. We have yoga mats. And there's just some different things like that. One of the things we do along with building our class expectations is we talk about how we have choice. That this is their classroom. I'm here to teach them skills and help them learn. Their job is to monitor and control their behavior. Great question to ask them is, have your parents taught you right from wrong? Great, I'm here to teach. That's what I'll do, and you monitor your behavior. They have a Wildcat Pass, which gives them privileges to decide when they get a drink, when they need to use the restroom, where they will sit, what they will use to sit on, who they sit with. And then we go through the process of what is making a strong decision for me, myself, and for my group. So we do a lot of practice with that. There's always a lot of discussion, always a lot of reflection on that. And they want to keep all of those privileges. So they're very, they do a good job monitoring themselves. So, and they're very excited. And if throughout the day, where they've chosen to sit or what they're using is not working for them, then they also know that they can get up and move. And actually, if they do that, we talk about how that's helping all of us. And we're all being successful. We're all succeeding. So.
Obvious that you promote student ownership of learning in your classroom, which is highly impressive. One of the things that you've talked to us about before is your data binders. Mm-hmm. So how do you use those to promote student ownership of learning?
In those, we have our fluency passage in math facts, and we come in certain days and work on those with partners that they're matched up with. But we always keep a log of how far did we get, how are we doing, we annotate them and so forth. But they keep those graphs so they can see how they're growing. And then they use that at the beginning of the year, throughout the year, to make a goal for themselves. I've gotten all the way through, the 8s. My goal by next, 2 weeks from now is I want to get through the 9s. So we have a lesson in what is a goal, what's a good goal, a smart goal, what are the parts of it, how do I write it? So. Things that, if we want kids to monitor themselves, monitor their learning, evaluate how they're doing, monitor their behavior, they need to have reflection. So we reflect each week on Fridays, and they will write a new goal for the next week on a sticky, and we just stick it up on the chart. And it's private. Their names are on the outside, and then they've written on the inside of the sticky. So it's all private, and then the next Friday we take it down, reflect how did we do, what worked, what didn't work, what are we going to change, and then we'll write a new goal.
So are there any other goal-setting strategies that you use or ways that you hold kids accountable for reflection?
We'll do like if we're doing a math lesson or reading lesson, we'll do I'll put out paper for them and markers and with a question on it, and then they'll have to respond, and they just kind of rotate through, kind of like graffiti, mm-hmm. But they rotate through and write down what they've learned, and even if they have any more questions. So
it sounds like this is just embedded in your teaching.
Yeah,
it's wonderful. One of the things, with all of this in mind, with your student ownership of learning, the physical space, the routines you have in place, can you touch upon how this has made you a more effective teacher and why?
Mostly what it's taught me is how to let go of the control and to trust in the kids. Because if you really step back and you watch the kids, they will show you how they learn best. And you have that time to reflect, on what you have done and strategies that you've used with the lessons. And, you'll hear a child say something, well, I don't know, maybe this would work better. And then, a light bulb goes off. But I think it's really made me be able to step back, do more reflection, do more observation, to make stronger lessons with the kids.
And then how do your students like this type of teaching?
They love it. I think mostly because they do have that ownership, and it makes them think a lot about what they're doing and why they're doing it. They'll add, we'll be in the middle of a lesson, and our lesson will take a different turn because somebody had a question or somebody wanted to know something in addition to, and so we kind of go that way. We investigate it, explore it. I think it's really like showing the kids what a learner is, how we learn. So,
can you tell us a little bit about when you might have to intervene with students learning and how you would intervene?
Sometimes, especially when we start the year out and we're learning all these new strategies and how to make strong decisions for ourselves and others, typically, if we're working in a group, I'll have a couple of kids come to me and complain, so-and-so is doing this and that, and he's distracting us, and we've asked him to stop doing this and that. And I'll just say to them, I guess your group's going to fail then. And which typically they just stand and they just stare at you because kids are used to you solving their problems. So I'll direct them back the first time, well, you guys need to problem solve that. You got to figure it out. So they'll go back and they'll work with that. And most of the time they kind of get it figured out. I think that's the first big aha with the kids is, oh, the teacher's not going to take care of it. So part of that ownership in learning is managing that behavior. I might at other times, when we get into groups to do things, I always let them form their groups, choose who they're going to work with, and I might give some little reminders like, make sure you make a strong choice. Make sure that whoever you're choosing to work with is going to work for you and you're going to be able to stay on task and learn. We also do that big lesson about making our group successful doesn't mean that everybody's with their friend. So we'll do a grouping game where I keep asking them to get in a group of two, new group of two, new group of two, new group of two. Those grouping games break down the walls that kids have with working with, I can only be with boys, I can only be with girls, I can only be with my friend. So that helps. But then there may be times where, they're continuing to struggle, and I'll go over and I'll just ask the child, are you making a strong choice? Or are you making a weak choice? Are you helping us or are you hurting us? Because remember, it's about us. And I just keep reinforcing that. And if we have to have a whole class discussion on it, then we will. How do you guys think, what could Jacob or Tommy do for us to help us be successful? What do we need him to do? Tommy, do you think you might be able to do that? So, there's a little bit of peer pressure there too, but it's all positive.
So what has helped you to evolve into this type of teacher?
I worked at Desert Harbor, which is an arts integration school, for 19 years, and my principals there were very supportive. They encourage us to think outside the box. They encourage us to take risks, which are all things we want kids to do. So if we want kids to do them, as teachers, we have to be allowed to take those risks without consequences. It should all be a learning process. So having the support of my principal, Lori Little, I've been able to grow. She'll come in and do an observation, and I'll try a new strategy, and it's okay because I know she's not going to give me consequences if it doesn't go just so. I get to reflect. I can stop and reflect. In the middle of the lesson, I can reflect with the kids. We can change things, and it's not viewed as, oh, you made a mistake, or you're not doing that right. It's viewed as you're growing, you're learning, you're, developing your craft. So it's valued. So.
Thank you.